out on a statement result. But before we get into all that, there's quite a little bit of stuff to talk about. A small matter of a pretty gigantic podcast that went out a few days ago. The podcast is in the link in the description if you've not watched that. We are going to be discussing elements of that. There wasn't really anything new in there, but just like specifically some of the conversation you might not fully understand if you've not listened to it, but we'll do our best to sort of explain what has gone on. Please make sure you drop a like on the stream. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well if you are new. And just a final plug, by the way, I don't get anything out of this other than I feel good about doing it. That music, I'm supporting them for a long time. Band from Manchester, Mercy Kelly. They are playing a gig in Manchester this Saturday night. Obviously the day before the derby. If you guys fancy turning up and going along, I'll be there as well. The tickets are on sale. The link is in my community post. I've put a community post on my YouTube. Go there and you'll find it. It's about £10 a ticket. You just have to buy a ticket to Mercy Kelly and then you can go. If you're there, I'll see you there on Saturday night. If not, no problemo. Let's have a look who we've got in the building then today, and then we'll get straight into it because I know people are on the lunch breaks. Big up to Sub Hottie, Jimmy Five Chins, Blue Tone is here as well. What a surprise. Big up to Itchy Goat, D3 Armar, big up to Herbal, Elder, City 3, 9020. I got that butchered, but we'll move. Al Joy, Kick 4. Sam's here, backbencher. Leroy Sane, David Hartley, Gabby, backbencher. Ashaz, Sympha Mandler. There we go. Big up to Danny, Brandholt, George Ossis, Dharma, Stacey, Hayden. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Thank you very much for tuning in. And make sure you are following Tone. Tone, how you doing, man? You all right?
I'm very well. Yeah, really good. Thanks. And you?
Well, I am ill. You realise
you've got a cold?
Yeah, I'm just freaking. I'm ill. I'm just 24/7 ill at the moment. So hopefully in the next few days we will be better. But yeah, listen, a big show to go through here because we've got some FFP talk. Obviously, not spoken about FFP for a couple of weeks. And that is too long. That is too long. And then maybe towards the back end of the show, if we have time, we will look at the obviously the Manchester United game coming up this Sunday. But for people that have not fully understand what's going on here, there's been a podcast that's released over the last few days. Like I said, the podcast link is in the description. Well worth a listen if you've got the time. Nothing really new in there, but just it's quite good to see two sides going at it. On one side, you've got Nick Harris, who I know a lot of people have a great relationship with on social media. He's obviously the sort of like a journalist. He's representing and trying to sort of put out there the information that he feels maybe doesn't prove, but highlights that maybe City are guilty of the charges, and he's basically just pushing that narrative, which is fine. That's his prerogative. He can do that, right? And then on the other side, you got Stefan. I know a lot of you guys will know Stefan. He's been on TalkSport now. Guy's big time. The guy's big time now. You know what I mean? Big up to Stefan. He's on there. I wouldn't even necessarily. Maybe I'm biased here, and I probably am. So if you're not a City fan, maybe I'm being biased here. I wouldn't necessarily say when I listen to him, I wouldn't necessarily think to myself that he's there defending City or that. I just feel like there's so much one-sided. I don't want to say attack, but it feels like there's so much one-sided information out there in the media tone, whether that be mainstream media, social media, fans, journalists, whatever. Pointing the finger at City, saying, look at all this evidence to say that City are guilty. I don't necessarily think that when I listen to him, and he might have a different opinion, he might say, no, I am defending it. I listen to it and think, he's just providing what seemingly are reasonable explanations. And not all of the explanations will be true, because like I said, I've never said 1 minute I think City are guilty or not guilty. I don't know. I wasn't there. I think that's the only way you can say. But well, what's your take on sort of the two guys going head to head and sort of just before we get into the specifics, generic thoughts on that conversation?
I agree with you. Again, I am very biased. Anyone who follows me knows I am as biased as it gets. So you may not take my opinion on this as valid, but I think Stefan speaks really well, and he's a corporate lawyer, isn't he? Or I can't remember his title. They did say on the thing, but he has a background in that area, and I think he's terrific. And even if he was a United fan, Everton fan, Liverpool, whatever, he speaks terrifically well and balances it with, I understand, we'll go into the specifics, I know, but I understand this side, but that's inaccurate. It's actually this. And sometimes, as a City fan, it's not what you want to hear. You're like, oh, that's a bit worrying. But most of the time it's more on the positive front of City, but that's because I think he believes. I just saw that. I can't remember what I said now. So he believes that the Premier League have effectively been wrong in sort of progressing this down the line. I know we'll go into it, but I think he does try to keep balance. I think he's terrific, which is why shows want him back like Talk Sport and so on. He's brilliant.
No, absolutely. Like I said, we'll get into specifics, but I feel that like when I see some of the comments and the reason for the title here, by the way, is because, like I said, I've never even interacted with Nick. Never once interacted with this guy. I've never tweeted him, never spoke to him, never DM'd him. I'm not a source. But like I feel like is he like sometimes I feel like, did I listen to the same thing? Because I mean, if we look at this sort of tweet that went out, this might be deleted now because one of the reasons for the title is that Nick probably regrets it. I don't know. You have to ask him. He put out a lot of tweets over the last 48 hours. Some of them have
been blocked. I've been blocked, mate, like everyone.
I'm still on the block list. And I don't think I should get blocked. I've not done anything wrong. But like his bias is clear. I have to concede that. Now, one problem that I have with this, also, he absolutely loves the attention that his celebrity brings. Well, I would also say Nick has been on a fair few podcasts as well. I'm pretty sure I've seen him on a podcast with, I think, Gary Lineker and maybe Alan Shearer. I'm pretty sure he was on something like that. But here's the thing. His bias is clear. Whenever I listen, and I don't know if you've noticed this as well, Tone, and you guys in the chat, you can back me up on this. Whenever I listen to Stefan, because Stefan says the same thing that I say. Yeah. First of all, I'm pretty sure he says he doesn't know whether City are innocent or guilty. Because truly, nobody knows. Now, you can answer a different question. I can say to you, Tone, are City innocent or guilty? The only answer that you can possibly give to me to that, unless you was there and know actually fundamentally what happened, the only answer you can give is, I don't know.
Yes.
Now, if I said to you, do you think City are guilty or innocent? Now, that's a different one, but that's based off opinion. Now, one of the problems that you're going to have with that question is that your own biases are going to come into it. All City fans are going to say, well, I'd like to think we're not guilty, obviously, as I do. And rival fans will probably say, oh, of course they're guilty. And by the way, rival fans have obviously been influenced more by the outside media, just been hammering this stuff, often misrepresented. So this is why I got frustrated with that particular tweet, because he said his bias is clear. But then when I listened to the podcast, I heard Stefan say that if City are guilty, the punishment will be very, very severe. Now, if his bias is clear, why would he even say that?
Exactly right. I don't know why he's having a go at him either, because they seem to, they've worked together. I know only little articles on the Mail on Sunday or something they were saying on the show. And they clearly, they seemed to get on and sort of know each other a little. So I don't know why he's having a go and going down that route, especially Nick Harris. I mean, honestly, I don't like I know I go on about it, but I don't really like the conspiracy of he supports so-and-so. But I think he's a United fan, I believe. And
I got told he was a City fan, bro.
Nick Harris.
I don't know if this is true. I don't have a clue, but I got told he was a City fan back in the day, but just doesn't like football anymore. I don't know whether that's true or not, but like, listen, I wouldn't like to think that his football biases, whatever football club he supports, comes into it. He should just be doing his job. And like I said at the start of this, Tone, I don't actually have a problem with what he's doing in terms of like reporting. At the end of the day, like, you need journalists to be able to report stuff. Yeah, otherwise, you'll have no journalism. I just think that the way that I've never spoken about this guy before. The way I've seen him go about it is, it's very aggressive. It's a very aggressive pursuit of the case. And I guess is there anything wrong with that? Maybe necessarily not. But that is going to wind up City fans. So you can't go after City in an aggressive way. Yeah. Call yourself sporting intelligence, talk about the investigative stuff, and then not expect City fans to react, especially when you say things in maybe whether you do it on purpose or not, maybe a misleading way or in a way that maybe, again, gets City fans back up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's sporting intel. That's quite, I mean, that must be an ironic thing. But he's also deleted tweets where he's had a go at the attendances at City and all this sort of stuff. So he has got City on his agenda. And I know there will be people out there saying, oh, he does it, he's trying to be balanced. From the tweets I've seen, I've blocked a while ago, but, people pop them up and do screenshots and so on. to me, it reads as hate. And I thought, and I know we're going to get into specifics as we say, that Stefan made a complete, I'm trying to not swear there, tool of him basically on the show a few times, and I've written down a few times of where I thought he made Nick look rather foolish. And one of the main ones was when Stefan's, sorry, I'm starting to go into it. I just very quick, Stefan mentioned something around, well, FFP's been worked around to help the bigger clubs, the Arsenals, the Uniteds and all that sort of stuff, the ones who were top of the tree. And he did not like that, which I thought was very interesting. But sorry, I jump in.
No, because because again, that's what I got from the podcast. And again, I want to keep saying this because I know there'll be fans of opposition clubs interested in watching this stream. Like, obviously, I'm a City fan. I will have some bias, but when I listened to it, what I took from it, and again, I'm not up Stefan's ass. I spoke to him about 5 times in my life. You know what I mean? I'm not someone who interacts with Stefan on a daily basis. Ironically, I did send him a DM yesterday saying, thought you did well on the podcast. But I don't really speak to him. I think I've been on Twitter Spaces with him maybe twice. Other than that, I've honestly never really spoken to the guy, honestly, genuinely. So I'm not up his ass. And I can say, Nick, I've never spoken to a guy in my life. What I got from yesterday was that some of the points, and you're absolutely spot on that point, by the way. Like, some of the points that I think he's defensive on, Nick, just come across as, like, in my opinion, just like complete delusion. Like, how are you honestly saying that this FFP, like, just had no influence from the bigger clubs? I mean, it's just ridiculous to suggest that, in my opinion, because, like, the rules favor the bigger clubs. The bigger clubs have the influence at the Premier League. They have a big influence over UEFA, the huge clubs. Now, I've said personally, I think actually at UEFA that big club influence is actually starting to dwindle a little bit, because you look at the state of United, they're a mess. UEFA are not going to particularly listen to United right now. The same with Barcelona. I think that's starting to dwindle, but Premier League, I still think it's quite there. And furthermore, Stefan also made a great point. Of course, if you're an owner of a football club or any business, surely you are gonna want regulation. I mean, I don't know if you watched. This is a completely separate sort of topic, but I don't know if you watched Bank of Dave on Netflix. No. It's an unbelievable story about a man in Burnley who was fed up with banks in the UK, so wanted to set up his own bank. Right? He wanted to set up his own Bank of Dave, and the banking sort of all the banks guys got together and went, hang on a minute, if he can set up a bank, anyone can. That threatens our business. So what they did is they went to the FCA and basically with the FCA worked out a way to protect banks from putting in all these restrictions and regulations, which effectively, as a sort of first level, just looked at, oh, look, we're doing all this to protect you, consumers, protect banks. Actually, all it did was stop competition. Yeah. So it happens at every walk of life, mate. You know what I mean? Yes. Every walk of life. So I found that very, very, very strange. And it seems that, like, when Nick was given like something that when he was told something that he didn't particularly like, he just sort of like didn't really give an answer or accept that could be true. That's what I got from the podcast. But like when I listened to Stefan said, listen, if there's a guy called Simon Pearce.
Yes.
If Simon Pearce has lied in his witness statement and gets proved to be lying, he's in big trouble. If Manchester City are found guilty and they get proved to be found guilty, City are in big trouble. So I got that was my take from it. My summary is I got one person who didn't really want to accept any reasonable explanation from a pro-Manchester City point of view. Another person who was obviously giving reasonable explanations in support of Manchester City, but also being very balanced and saying if City have done this, if Simon Pearce has done this, then they're both screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just going back to that, the larger club thing, it was mentioned on the show, but December 22, the rules were changed. Why were the rules changed? To stop Newcastle. Because they're the next ones like City, or trying to be like City, to push that top 4. They were in the Champions League. They're not going to be probably now next season. But they're the next team on the horizon. So what have they done? Changed the rules so Newcastle could not spend in January. Now, you tell me what's fair about that you can change the rules 1 month before a transfer window and the upcoming summer one, where Newcastle have lost a player for gambling or whatever it was he's done, so they now go need another player. Now they can't go and get one because the the clubs or Premier League have voted in this new rule to stop them spending. And again, Nick sort of took that on board and then jumped away as soon as he said, well, Man United and Arsenal, they're all self-interest. City is self-interest. City want the rules their way. Sheffield United want the rules their way. Nobody's saying that it's wrong, that they've got vested interest. There's nothing wrong with Arsenal and United wanting things their way. Of course they do. They want every advantage they can take. But the point is those clubs are being listened to and having an effect on the rules, whereas some of the others are not, in my opinion, of course.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Going to go through some of these super chats here. Big up for everyone for the super chats. Guys, please make sure you smash the like on the stream. Please make sure you are subscribed. And then I've just got a couple of snippets from the podcast that we're gonna discuss. And like I say, I do recommend listening to the full podcast. There wasn't really anything new in there that I took from it, but it was a good debate and it was quite entertaining at times as well. Thank you to Jimmy for the super chat earlier on. Big up to Joe, says Stefan has blocked Harris, spouting BS about him. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I thought, again, like, I look at some of the tweets that Nick's then put out, and it's just like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to piss people off here? Or if you are a journalist and you want people to listen to you, you've just done a podcast with someone, and now you're saying, what is this? It might be school ground stuff, maybe, but do you really need to say some of the stuff that you've said? Again, I mean, he has deleted them now, so maybe he recognises that what he said was wrong. But again, ideally, you're meant to be professional at what you're doing. I don't really think that came across in a particularly great way. Right. Big up to Pac-Man, says Harris is embarrassed that he's been brought onto a podcast as an expert, then been exposed for lying, getting a lot wrong. Not a journalist, a child. Says Pac-Man, that's his views there. And JS says, hello, I am the JS King. Yes.
Wow. Hello.
Hello to you, King. Right, let's go through some of these clips. These are just a couple of clips that I got from it that I thought was quite interesting. Now, hopefully you can hear this, and hopefully we don't get breached. But here we go. Let me know if you can hear this, Tone.
Signed a settlement agreement in 2014, which they accepted without appeal.
Well, hang on. We're not having that.
The agreement that
they didn't accept that they breached FFP, and they couldn't appeal because it's a settlement. So you can't appeal a settlement. It's completely counter to the whole purpose of a settlement.
Yeah, but they accepted a €60 million fine, which was obviously commuted to 20 million penalty. Yeah, well, the fine penalty.
Well, it's a settlement. It's a settlement. The key is in the framing. It's a settlement.
Sure. But why would you accept? I mean, obviously we know what specifically. Why they were being punished, basically, why the settlement came into being in the first place. And that's because commercial contracts from partners were above market rates, specifically those with Arbar and Etisalat.
So, no, as I said to you, City don't accept any of that. City settled because commercially it made sense to settle. And that's something that happens in litigation the whole time.
Yeah, so that's a clip about them having a disagreement, and it starts by, and I'm just going to play the first bit of that again because just listen to this real careful.
When City failed FFP and signed their settlement agreement in 2014, which they accepted without appeal.
This is where I think that you got to get your wording right. You got to get your wording right. We accepted without appeal. Yeah, that makes it sound like what you're saying is Manchester City accepted that we breached financial fair play, we'd accepted the breach, and that we didn't appeal it. Well, actually, that's not what happened. And yes, people say, and it's a good question. And listen, you've got to try and step back and look at the scale of what's this, because people will say, the layman will go, well, why did Manchester City accept to pay £60 million, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure actually got reduced to about 20 million or 30 million quid because we then met the thing. Why would City agree to pay? Let's just say it was 20 million because I'm pretty sure it got reduced to 20 million. Why would City agree to pay £20 million if they're innocent? Now, that's a great question. One answer is they might be guilty and they might think we're guilty. If this goes on, we'll get a worse thing. Let's just do it. The second thing is, which again is a reasonable. What Stefan's putting in here is a reasonable explanation as to why this might have happened, is because in big business, and football is now big business, it's a billion dollar industry. Sometimes companies just settle for the sake of settling for commercial purposes. And since this podcast has come out, I've seen so many lawyers, actual lawyers on Twitter, not like these fake blue tick lawyers, actual lawyers, who say this is really like, as the general public, you might not think it, but in the real business world, people settle all the time. So again, it's something that's put across, and of course, if it's a settlement agreement, you can't appeal a settlement. Because the whole purpose of a settlement is that you might not like it, but you've settled, you've agreed to the settlement, you signed it, and it's got. You can't sign it and then go, right, lads, it's fucking appealing that. No. Well, why did you sign it then? So again, the word in there was I thought was really poor.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest here, and I don't know Nick hardly anything about him, and I think he knows that, and I think he plays to the other side of the group who can't wait for City to, get done or what have you if they do, and he's playing to that crowd because he's, he's probably trying to build up his. He keeps saying about how he's got 5,000 people subscribed to stuff and 3,000 that follow his new online paper or something. He's building that up because he knows United fans, Arsenal fans will go on that and go, oh yeah, Nick said this. Nick, he knows what he's doing. I don't believe for 1 minute he's stupid. He knows full well about that the settlement, and Stefan jumping in brilliantly and saying, no, you can't appeal a settlement. It's a settlement. That's what it's for. So absolutely spot on. And I think Nick knows that. And I think he's just playing the game and getting the word out to say, oh, well, no, I'm not sure about that. I think they just didn't do it. It's absolutely.
But here's the thing. Like, it makes City fans think that you're doing it on purpose.
Yes, that's right.
And I don't know, Nick might be watching this. It makes, because like, I agree. I know people will say, I don't think this guy's a dumb guy. You know what I mean? He worked for papers. I don't know exactly what papers, but I know he's worked for some of the big papers in this country. So
Daily Mail.
But when you say that, it's just like, did you say that because you thought that Stefan wasn't going to pick it up, and then people listening to it thought, oh yeah, that's dodgy. But you've got to be careful because, like I say, one of the, and I'm literally, I don't care me. I'll just say it as it is. One of the reasons that City might have accepted that settlement and entered into that settlement is because they were guilty.
Yeah,
that might be one of the reasons. But you've got to also accept, that if that's possible, that the other thing might be possible, that City felt that they're not guilty, which, by the way, is what actually City maintain, because City said they're not guilty. They accepted it without prejudice, or you know what I mean? They accepted it without accepting that they had breached, and that they just did it for commercial purposes only.
Yes.
So who knows? Again, who knows which one's true? Only select people in this world will actually know whether they were guilty or whether they were not guilty. But ultimately, it was a settlement agreement that City entered into that then got reduced. Yeah, and as it's a settlement agreement, you can't appeal it. So there's no point in saying there's literally no point in saying fucking hell. There's no point in saying you can't. City didn't appeal it. Why did they appeal it? Well, you can't appeal it. Yeah. Anyway, that's the first clip. Did you have anything else to say before I go to the second one?
No, on to the second. I think we covered that one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, like when people ring me on my WhatsApp and I'm streaming, it comes from my PC and it probably stresses me out because it just goes in my fucking ear. I'm like, chill, man. Right, here's the second clip.
Just on the email, which was written by Simon Pearce. When Pearce was examined at the CAS hearing, he was asked the direct question, and this is verbatim: have you ever arranged any payments to be made to Etihad in relation to its sponsorship obligations of Manchester City Football Club? And he answered, absolutely, categorically not. The email that you read out earlier came into the public domain after the CAS hearing. And I think any general reader reading it would suggest that that is, in fact, Simon Pearce arranging payments to be made in relation to sponsorship. Now, I and other journalists asked Man City about this at the time, asked for an explanation for, is there anything that you can give us as background on or off the record? But of course, Manchester City haven't been answering questions about FFP since 2014, really.
Okay, so this is this is a part of the podcast, and again, the full link's in the description if you want to see the full thing. This is a part of the podcast where they're discussing Simon Pearce, who is quite a big part of this whole situation because it looks like he was arranging some of these payments. And when this went to CAS, Simon Pearce said, as Nick just clarified, and I'm pretty sure he said it was like verbatim. It was that he's reading it from the screen. That basically Simon said 100% did not arrange any payments via any other entity through Etihad to Manchester City. That's what he's saying. And obviously, if he has done that, then he's lied at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, or lied in a witness statement, right? So obviously, that's quite bad. Now, here's what Stefan had to say and then he goes on to say, so I asked Manchester City about this as a journalist, and they refused. This is the second part. This is what Stefan had to say in response.
Look, at the end of the day, Simon Pearce is likely to be asked specifically about that email within the process that's ongoing. And whoever is judging within the Independent Commission will be able to take their own view as to whether he's a credible witness or not, and whether effectively, as they found the opposite. So they found that he was a credible witness at CAS, and they found it unlikely that he would have perjured himself. But clearly, if these individuals have lied, then of course there will be nowhere for them to hide. I don't think there's any question about that. That said, I wouldn't expect them to be answering questions from journalists in the middle of an investigation and now an allegation and a kind of full trial of the most serious charges.
So well, there's two parts of that I want to speak about. The first part is that if Simon Pearce has lied, he's in serious trouble.
It's just that part really annoyed me, to be honest, the whole Simon Pearce bit, because Simon Pearce has come out, Cass said he's a credible person or what have you, and had background for it and all that sort of stuff. But I think the thing that gets, and I know we'll probably come on to this a bit more, but the thing that Nick Harris seems to have a real issue with, and the thing that he's been spending all this time going away trying to work out how much sponsorship deals are, which is ridiculous in itself anyway. But if he's an investigative journalism or meant to be, then fine. But he won't tell you who he's asked. He just throws these figures out like, oh, it's just, people I've spoken to said it should be far less, 100 million or what have you. And I'm just coming on to why this is linked to Simon Pearce, by the way. I'm not just waffling. And that part of this whole investigation is not even the key part. So the bit that he's going on about the inflated sponsorship deals, of which I've got a cash judgment here that said that they're in their judgment that they are not overvalued, by the way. So CAS have already said that all that sort of stuff is not overvalued previously. So just to shut down the part that Nick seems to keep waffling on about and brings up Simon Pearce's email in relation to, I know that's more about the paying the money and the 8 million that we'll come on to in a minute, but he seems to have this real bee in his bonnet about the sponsorship valuation, which CAS have already said fine. But also, it's not the main issue here. The main issue is where the money's coming from, and he seems to have lost sight of that. Sorry.
No, because obviously, obviously, you know, when he's speaking about that email, and obviously that Simon has said that he didn't arrange it, but then obviously this new email that apparently has come out that Nick seems to suggest he does. Obviously, Stefan says, well, if Simon has been proved to be lying, he's in serious trouble. Yes. I don't see how is that a biased take? Surely if he was biased, you'd sit there and say, well, no, this email, Simon's 100% telling the truth. This email that you're talking about is nonsense. He'll be fine. Blah, blah. He's not. He's literally sat there and said, if Simon's lied in his witness statement, he's in serious trouble. So I don't see how that's a sort of a biased take. And then what was the other bit that he spoke about towards the end?
I don't recall the end of it, actually. I was just reading my notes there that I'd made from listening to it earlier.
I don't want to. Let me play this next clip, because there's one more clip that I want to play here, Tom. Listen to this.
Yeah. Back at CAS, the pretty unusual appointment of the third member of the panel. Man City nominated 2 members of the 3-man panel. That is not something that would normally happen. I don't know why they picked the third panelist.
Okay.
Yeah,
that to me, I've got like one extended clip of this in a second. That to me, so he's just said there, City picked the panelists, right, or
Yes.
nominated the panelists. Don't know why that happened. That seems strange to me, or something to that effect. Now listen to this next bit, because for me, I don't understand why he's just said this. Listen to this.
There's a number of things you've said that are not quite accurate. I mean, particularly on the selection of the chair, which is one of these myths that has become kind of fact and was in the YouTube documentary that you took part in. The reality is, City suggested a chairman, and UEFA had
Rui Botica Santos,
and UEFA had the opportunity to say no prior to the confirmation of it by the CAS office. And they said that they were happy with that selection of the chair. Now, you can only assume, unless you want to be a conspiracy theorist, you can only assume that they said yes because they believed that that chairman was objective and would look at the case and would represent a high-quality chair. I mean, to suggest otherwise, I think is wrong. Anyway,
I haven't suggested that, have I?
No.
Have I?
Well, there is a.
So it wasn't
no.
Well,
you said that
was
it was
recommended
unusual
by City.
Hang on,
it is unusual.
So, because Stefan pulled him up a lot about a bit on that, and to suggest that is like a dodgy thing or some sort of conspiracy is wrong. And then Nick said, "I've not suggested that." Well, then why did you bring it up?
Yeah.
Well, why did you bring it up? And they said, "Well, because it's unusual." Well, at the end of the day, City recommended someone. UEFA had no problem with it, and CAS agreed with it. So it's really not an issue. So again, to me, it just comes across, Tone, as it comes across as like, oh, this is dodgy. Another dodgy thing that City. That's how it appears. Because otherwise, why did you speak about it? What, just because it's unusual? Is it unusual? UEFA didn't have a problem with it, and nor did CAS. So it can't be that unusual. Otherwise UEFA would have gone, hang on a minute, lads, calm down. You're not picking this guy. We want to pick him, or we don't agree with the person. And then CAS, obviously, the actual people who Stefan goes on to say has the final say, CAS would have gone, no, you can't have that person. So again, I just felt that like it comes across again to me personally that does come across as it's just trying to throw yet another thing that appears that Manchester City have done dodgily. Even if that wasn't his intention, that's how it comes across to me.
Oh, I think it is his intention, to be honest. But it's like I said earlier, he's stirring and he's playing to the masses, the United fans and so on. Oh, they will be loving it. But yeah, he got it wrong there, and Stefan picked him up on it, because I wouldn't know if he got it wrong, but Stefan picked him up on it to say, no, City didn't choose, they just agreed with it. So I don't know why he's gone in. He's made it look to the person who wants to hear what they want to hear. They will hear from that. City bloody well had the panel, didn't they? Oh, that's the brown envelope brigade, all that sort of thing. And that's what people will hear in one ear. The people who listen with both ears will listen to Stefan's side and say he's just stirring the pot. So yeah, absolutely, he knows what he's doing. Like we both said, he's not stupid. He knows what he's doing, and he's playing to the largest audience, and that is United, Arsenal, well, not so much Chelsea, because they're going to be in trouble shortly. But the other ones, the other clubs there, God, I can't even remember. Liverpool, of course. So, yeah, it's another one with him. I think that he's just there stirring the pot. He knows what he's saying. He knows what he's doing. And the people who want to hear what they want to hear will take Nick's side and won't even listen to the response of the other side. And that's what, in my view, and just my opinion, that is what Nick's game is. He plays to the masses, and as you've seen since, it looks like he's fallen out with Stefan. He's been blocked, or the other way round. I saw some comments on your screen there where he replied back saying, don't send this out and start stirring stuff up. I'm paraphrasing there. You had a thing up of his email, and on the right hand side there was a couple of comments from Stefan. I think he knows what he's doing, and this is what he wants, because at the end of the day, that's what gets him his subscribers, or whatever he's up to these days. It's all waffle. It's all waffle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, listen, it's obviously a topic which is going to go on for some time still, unfortunately. And people are very, invested in this on both sides. On both sides, we as fans, I say we as City fans, are obviously invested in it. We want our club to be proven innocent, you know what I mean, and or not guilty or whatever. And you know, some people who are convinced that Manchester City have done wrong, they obviously, from their point of view, they want to see City get punished. I'll just say this again, and I think this is the stance that I think most people should take, but you can all do what you want. I don't know whether City are guilty or not. I wasn't there in the boardroom doing the deals. I don't know how this money was put into our account. You know what I mean? Whether it was legit, whether it was not. You know what I mean? And that's not me just saying, well, washing my hands of it or looking. I don't know. I wasn't fucking there. I can't tell you whether or not it was legit or not. Do I want to believe that Manchester City are innocent? Yes. Do I think that we will be found innocent? Yes. That's a different question. But do I think we'll be found innocent? Yes. Why? Because Manchester City have told me as a Manchester City fan that in the statement that they released, that they have irrefutable evidence. My club is saying they have irrefutable evidence.
Yeah.
You cannot lose the case if you say you've got irrefutable evidence to me. And again, I'm just like a normal fan. Now, maybe businesses are always saying this kind of stuff, but you can't say that and then lose the case because that's going to make me go, hang on a minute, you told me you had irrefutable evidence, right? Furthermore, again, and I've got a lot of this from listening to Stefan when he's done his podcast or been on TalkSport. The gravity of what they're alleging is unreal. And I still believe that 99.99% of people in this world still don't fully understand just how big what they're alleging is. They're alleging fraud, man. These guys are saying we fraudulently misrepresented our accounts for nearly a decade, mate. Yeah, I mean, that is wild. Yeah. That is why the amount of people that are involved in this is crazy. So I don't think we'll be found guilty on that. Obviously, we're going to get found guilty of not cooperating. That'll be standard part of the course, just like it was at UEFA. Yeah. But yeah, like, what's your summary? What's your take on it? What's your thoughts before we move on? And do you have any information? What are you hearing? Anything on the grapevine that you can share with us? Or just give us your thoughts before we move on.
Yeah. I'll come to what I've heard on the grapevine a little bit. Obviously, speculation, just to be clear, but I'll come to that in a second. Just to quickly say, and you touched on it there, and I've got my notes again, by the way, mate. Look at this. Look, right? I've got one side here. I've got two. I've gone two sides of notes for this show today. Yeah, that's right. Don't worry, I won't go through all that. I think we've covered most of it, but I made them while I listened to the pod. It's a web. I think Stefan put it on TalkSport, I think, where he said it's a web of deceit that they're trying to prove, which is sponsors, auditors, Manchester City, and that's people at Manchester City, not one email. Because like Stefan clearly and rightly said, just because something's in an email and you read it that way, even if it is meant that way, doesn't mean it happened.
Correct. That's a very good point. Sorry, can you just go back and just say that again? Because
of course.
A very, very good point.
Yeah. So there's this email, Simon Pearce, where it looks as if they're saying that some of the money is being funded from elsewhere, essentially Sheikh Mansour and not Etihad. It's about, I don't know, 80 million or something around that area, I think. I can't remember. A lot of money. But it can be misconstrued, as it has been pointed out. But the key thing is, just because somebody's put it in an email doesn't mean it's happened. It doesn't mean that after that email, this is what happened. It's an email where something's been put onto paper, electronic. That's not proof, and that will just get thrown straight out. I don't see. Well, again, I don't know the law, but I'm just going by what Stefan said. That he would, like you said, he will be in trouble if everything is found out and they have got bang to rights. And then fair enough, and City will get what they deserve, maybe, and Simon Pearce will as well. But just to reverse back a little bit, I do just want to also say, and again, I keep saying this, I said this earlier with Nick Harris and his continuation about he's gone away for 2 years or something, finding out how much he thinks sponsorship deals should be for the Etihad campus, for the women's team, for all this other stuff. UEFA carried out their own valuation with their own team and said that the Etihad contract was deemed fair value. That is written in the yes, in the document. It's all there for people to see. Nick seems to have completely missed that. He seems to have completely gone off board and gone, Well, I don't think it is. Well, no one gives a toss. It's been fair value.
Well, can I just come in on that point just quickly? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
This is where I again, I mean, I have problems with this FFP thing anyway, but this is where I have just a massive problem with it because, like, who are you to tell anyone else what that value is actually worth?
Yeah.
Like, who are you to say that? If Walmart go to Arsenal tomorrow and say, we think genuinely your stadium, $200 million, we're going to give you $200 million over 5 years just to call it the Walmart Stadium because we think the Emirates, the best stadium in the country, blah, blah, 200 million, 5-year deal. Who is anyone to say, well, that's not right? It's fucking Walmart's money. It's not your money. It's their money. If they want to spend the money on that, then it is what it is. Like, so I have, this is why I have a problem with it because it's like you're then getting into the value. And Stefan in that podcast said it right. He says, at the end of the day, there is no exact science on a valuation. Yeah, you've just got to put it in a reasonable bracket. Yeah, and just say, does it look semi-reasonable? Yeah, and the only way that you can, again, I don't even know if you should be doing this, but even if you do want to do it, the only way that you should really be looking into the fair valuation is if you look at it and go, that's crazy. But again, that's nothing to do with the club. That's not the club. You're then effectively saying, right, to the people whose business it is, who sponsored the stadium or sponsored the kit, that you're crazy. Who are you to tell them they're crazy? If they want to spend their money, they can spend the money. And this doesn't just apply to our club. This is every club, man. So I just find that really infuriates me. This is why I just have a problem with this whole finance stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's more infuriating to a degree because, Nick Harris is, he's not going to blow the world up with all this information. But it's just, it was the part when he started saying, I've been speaking to people. I've been speaking to people. Well, who? Which people? Your neighbour? The dog? I don't know. Has he got a cat? I don't know who he's talking to. Who could look at? It's like me and you going over to the Etihad campus and going, 40, 50 million. Where have you got that number from? Don't know. Just thought it looked about right. What is he waffling about? And even the worst thing about it is he spent all that time on something that no one really gives a toss about in the case anyway. It's not even the main thing. It's just absolutely Barbie. But I know actually why he brings it up, because it stirs the pot, which comes back to right at the start of the show when I said he knows what he's doing, he knows who he's playing to, and he knows throwing that little thing out, the masses will be buzzing with it, mate. They will be buzzing with it. But I think I had another one, if that's all right. If am I right to mention sorry, do you want to do the super chat things? Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was muted there. We got 5 gifted memberships coming in from Signs Silver. Big up to you, bro. Thank you very much for the 5 bomb, man. W's in the chat from a Signs Silver. Good to see you, my man. Thank you very much, bro. Appreciate that. I'll see if I can. Oh, I can see it's gone to FT Photon, Cornelius, Cheryl, Top of the League, and Market. Have all got memberships courtesy of Signs Silver. Thank you very much, bro, for the 5 gifted and the continued support of the channel. What else have you got for us, Tom?
I was just going to say one more on that pod, then I'll come to that speculation stuff. But the bit that I thought was very interesting was when they were summarising, and Stefan said about the Premier League self-sabotage, even if they win the case, because people say, what the hell have you been doing for 10 plus years? Why have they been doing this 10 years? What have you actually been doing? What have your auditors been doing? So I thought that was quite interesting that he was saying even if the Premier League outright win and City end up, blows up, the Premier League still look bloody stupid anyway. And he thinks Stefan thinks that the Premier League should have gone to City earlier, and this will come on to my speculation in a minute, and said, let's make a deal off the books, legally, of course, and try and keep this thing quiet, get it resolved, take your fine, take your points, whatever, a little one, and we'll call it quits and sweep it under the carpet. But in terms of the reputational damage, which brings me on to the speculation, which there's stuff been going around last week, I think, maybe the week before, and I know some City content guys and one of the main City news lot know about it, and I know a couple of the ex-players, one of at least one of them works for the club and stuff, are aware of this speculation. It is only speculation that and we were talking about this, weren't we, just before we come on, LB, that the Premier League have approached City about making a deal, and City outright said absolutely not. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. No deal. We're innocent. We're not taking any form of punishment. On we go. So that is what, in the main, the speculation is. I was talking with Scott, a City fan, yesterday. We were just having a general chat. It wasn't anything inside or anything around this. And yeah, we were both on the same sort of wavelength with it, really. That is, if this is correct, and it's an if, that's a huge positive for City. That even then, a much lighter, I was told, sentence, what should we call it, or judgment, for City would be, City would then decline it and say, no, we're not making deals. We're not here to make deals. We are innocent. If you prove us guilty, fine, but you're not going to, because we're innocent. No deals, sod off, go away. We'll see you at the end. And yeah, I think if that's right, City have got a massive, massive plus there. And I think this news probably, and this is just my opinion, I think this, to me, sounds like it could be a goer just from the people who know about it. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's interesting to hear that. I mean, again, guys, that is just obviously speculation at the moment, as you know. But City have obviously rejected it if it is true. And we are waiting for that final decision. So listen, I think that what it's going to be super interesting, this, because what's going to happen if the Premier League lose this case is going to be interesting, because and we've discussed this many times, guys, about like, what does City do? Does City just go, okay, yeah, we've won the case, let's carry on with our lives? I don't think some City fans out there, I think a large group of City fans, probably myself included, I don't know. Because I think you'll only truly know on the day when that moment drops. You'll only truly know. You can say how you feel, but until it actually happens, you probably won't know. But like, I don't know if City fans are going to accept, and I'm going to have to wrap up in a minute, guys. But I don't know if City fans are going to accept City just going, okay, move on. Do you know what I mean? Because like, this is different to the CAS one. This is the Premier League. Like, every day, fans are going to work. You know what I mean? They're having to deal with their friends. You're having to deal with opposition fans on social media. The Champions League one was quite quiet, really, because like, no one really cared about it in this country or anywhere, because like, it was Champions League. Like, it wasn't anything to do with the Prem. No. So just to sort of, before we wrap up, what's your take on if the Premier League lose this case and City do get found innocent or not guilty? Like, how do you see this affecting the Premier League? How do you see this affecting Manchester City? And what, maybe, I don't know if you'll know, because again, maybe some people only know on the day, but like, what do you think you're going to want City to do? Whether it be a statement, like, City not going to sue anyone. I don't think City can sue anybody, but like, what do you think City should do in that situation? Should it happen?
Right. The first part of the Premier League, if the Premier League lose this outright, and all City get is a little fine for cooperation or whatever, I mean, heads will roll. Richard Masters will be out if he isn't already, because he's apparently already on the verge. So, reportedly. So heads will roll. There will be many heads that roll, and they will look a joke, a farce. Even Nick Harris said yesterday on this, whenever it was on this pod, that it will just be seismic for the Premier League if they've messed this one up and spent 10 years or what have you doing it and all this. And if they come out losing this case, I'll be honest, the credibility, everything, reputational damage will be enormous for the Premier League if they've messed this up. And they will lose a lot of power over the clubs, I think. And will anyone take them seriously? And Everton, and Forest, and everybody else, and Chelsea coming up, and I think Man United are being looked into. All these clubs are going to go, no one cares what you think, Premier League. You couldn't even get this investigation right. No one gives a toss. So it's massive for the future of the Premier League. Absolutely enormous. I mean, for City as well. And your question around City, sorry, what was the City? What would I want them to do if we win?
Yeah, so it's again, I say this, and I know it's a difficult question because this is largely based off emotion, and you won't be able to replicate that, and you won't be able to understand what that's going to be until the day. But how do you think you're going to feel, and what do you and because basically, long story short, I don't think if that day comes 9 a.m. Monday morning, Premier League, City been found not guilty, City released a statement, City not guilty.
Yeah,
are you just going to get on with your day? Like, like. We've took as fans so much shit over the last year or whatever since this. I feel like City gonna have to do something more than just release a statement saying, "Oh well, that ends well." Like, I don't think that's gonna go. It's just my take. I don't think City fans are gonna accept. I think City fans want something to happen to say we've been targeted. Our club reputation has been damaged. As fans, we've had to take shit for a whole year. Like, what do you think City should do in that situation?
Well, firstly, from my point of view, if it comes in, like you said, Monday, 9 o'clock, City innocent, I've already thrown out Twitter. Party at mine. I mean, it's going to be wild. It could be an all-weekender. I mean, I'm not kidding, mate. I'm talking about 1,000-odd replies going, I'll be there, Tone, I'll bring the beer and I'll bring this and all that. I'll be honest, the house probably ain't big enough. Gardens, all right, that might get a few of you in. But just... this is absolutely genuine, mate. I kid you not. If City get found innocent and cleared of all the main ones, I don't care about the corporation stuff. I'm taking a day off. I've already asked my boss. I've already said, if I wake up Monday and we're cleared, I want that Monday off. I don't care what we got on. I'm having the day off, and I'm going to go bloody nuts, and I'm going to sit on Twitter, and I'm going to be stirring the pot for about 12 straight hours. I'm not having lunch. I'm not having breakfast. I'm not even going to have a cup of tea, mate. I'm going to sit there and have the entire day and just go wild. Anyway, that's my thing, which sounds a bit weird. I'm going to go crazy, I think, if not already. City, no, statement out just to say, something along the lines of, we always thought we were innocent, draw a line under it. We just want to move on. We've always played by the rules, and we will do here on. And we're going to continue to dominate like we have under the rules because we're a brilliantly run club. I'm not interested in going after journalists and all this. I get people's views. That's fine. Just draw a line under it and move on. Don't fine anyone and sue everybody. Just City, I think, will want this done, dusted and wrapped. No more.
Okay, interesting. Right, let's have a look at some super chats before we wrap up. Unfortunately, I'm on another show, guys, so I don't have time to speak to Tone about the United game, but Tony's coming back on the show hopefully on Sunday evening after the football match, hopefully to discuss a win for Manchester City. But big up to King Clancy King with the $5. Says the key to settlement is both sides agree. If City were guilty, why would both parties agree? Would never settle if sure we were guilty, says King Clancy King. Well, this is the interesting thing, because when you listen to some solicitors speaking about this, sometimes it is just better to settle, you know what I mean? Even if you think they're guilty, or even if you think you're not guilty, because you don't, ultimately, you can have all, and again, I think Stefan does actually mention this, and, other people have mentioned it. You can have all the evidence in the world. If the judge doesn't believe your case, then the judge might not back you, even though you think you're going to win the case. You might think you've got a slam dunk case, So the settlement thing, that's why the settlement thing, bro, is kind of like, I just sort of this is what I said earlier. I don't know if you was here at the start of the stream. This is what I said to Tone and to you guys in the chat. It's like, City could be guilty, and that's why they entered into the agreement. Oh, City could be not guilty, but they don't want to risk taking it further, so they just entered into a commercial agreement to settle the case, to have it done and dusted. No one will ever know why UEFA entered into that agreement. No one will ever know why City entered into that agreement. There are two outcomes. City were guilty. That's why City entered into it. And UEFA didn't want to push it, and they were happy with the punishment. Or City were not guilty, but City didn't want to take it to sort of a judgment stage, because then you lose control. And even though you think you're not guilty, you still could lose. So again, unfortunately, football's become this thing now where you need to be an accountant, a lawyer. And almost being an actual football fan and just understanding football has come as sort of secondary.
I will say I actually am an accountant too, I've got qualifications in it. I don't do it anymore. I don't like it. But I will just quickly say what you just said there. Yeah, Stefan did say about the agreement and stuff, and yeah, it can be an agreement, but it's not about, like you said, it's not about guilty and not guilty so much with settlement. Sorry, it's yeah, like you said, commercially it can make sense. And so many, as Stefan pointed out, litigation, all this sort of stuff with big, huge companies, they know they're innocent, they know, but they'd rather just pay whatever and have it, you know, effectively swept under the carpet or rug.
Yeah,
the saying
I like this comment here from Photon. Settlement saves both parties from potentially looking daft, but it also no one looks like the true winner. You know what I mean? So I mean, you could have one that looks like they've lost more than the other one, but no one's a true winner. Big up to Sign Silver, says best show on this channel with Tone W chat, and then he also comes in with another 5 gifted memberships, man, which is wild. That's gone to LB. That's not me. Someone else called LB. Robert McCluskey, Mark Fogg, Jen Jose, and someone else. I think it might have been Danny. It just sort of like the chat just moved just as I was about to read it out. So big up to Sign Silver for the 10 gifted memberships in this stream. And I'm afraid, guys, that's all we've got time for on today's show. I feel like Jeremy Clarkson there. You know, he used to do Top Gear. They used to end the show. Like I say, unfortunately, we didn't manage to get round to the United stuff, but I'm out of time. I've got to go on another channel. Tone will be back on Sunday night to come on the panel, and we're going to discuss the City versus United game, hopefully after City have won the game. So big up to everyone in the chat. Make sure you smash a like on it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. You can go check out Tone on X, formerly known as Twitter, at MCFC Tone for all his City news. And sometimes he gets us some early access on team news as well. So if you like getting the early team news, that's another good reason to show. I'm on Footy Judge Mo. The redirect is on. We'll be live straight away because I've kept them for a while. And catch you in the next one. See you later, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.